motion. How about a motion?
I'll put that motion forward that we accept the agenda.
So, sorry for the interruption.
Disappeared.
I am here. I'm just trying to work on my camera. I can't seem to get it to come on. So I will just jump in with my vote.
Sure, no problem. Heather, thank you. It does look like we have lost Deb. So we'll just wait for her to get reconnected.
Okay.
I have no idea what happened there, but it looks like that we have a motion for Mr. Parsons to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor? Opposed? It is carried unanimously, I think. The next item is the council update. And it looks like Councillor Federico has joined us, and we also have Councillor McFadden. So whoever's going to take the lead, please do so.
Sure, I'll jump in and
Councillor McFadden, sorry, before you begin, Chair Spence, I'd just like to point out that that Heather is having, oh, there we go. She's got her video working. Okay, sorry. And Councillor Federico has joined us. Councillor Federico, I'm not sure if your video is working, but just 4 votes. If you're not able to see everybody's hand, if the people that do not have their video capability, if you can verbally present your vote, that would be best. Thank you.
I'm adjusting laptops, so I may need to drop off and rejoin on a laptop that allows me to get to be where I need to get to be videoed. So hang on, I'll join. I'll stay on until I need to join later.
Okay, and Heather, it would be great if you turned the overhead light because you look like you have a halo, which maybe you do. But
I do.
that certainly is how it looks. Okay, now so to get back, I think the item on the that we're attending to right now is the council update.
Yeah, so Monday night was the last council meeting of this term. It was a late meeting. We covered a number of items. One of the ones perhaps most relevant to the Planning Commission was the decision about the Heritage Hills garden lots. I believe this group had weighed in on that. So council passed those bylaw amendments to allow it. A really good conversation, I think, around parking and how the whole functionality of that went through. So your comments were appreciated and considered. So thank you for that. On the broader agenda, an item that took some space was there's the track and field group. I don't remember their name right now. Was advocating they want to. They've got a major donor and they're looking at adding some great fields up at the Cochrane High tri-site spot location. So they've been championing this investment. They've got a major donor willing to contribute $1.2 million to make this happen. And so they want to make this happen quickly. So they had come to council and they're trying to get support from different municipalities, different groups to make this happen. So it asked the municipality for a commitment, a letter of commitment of $600,000 and to have that discussed in the budget. So this council discussed it quite thoroughly, and at the end of the day, weren't really comfortable in giving a letter of commitment. We felt that bound the municipality more so than we could really do at this point. So instead, we offered a letter of support and said, you know, we'll talk about the $600,000 request in the budget. So that was a large discussion. Also then we did do the presentation on the Horse Creek Sports Park and those visions to council. And so that was accepted. For information, I think that's kind of the highlights as I remember them. So we're now, a number of candidates have declared, we're now into that election season, but the current council continues to serve as council. until the new council is sworn in, which is a couple days after the election on October 18th. So a busy time, but the council is still working until we are no longer elected officials. Marnie, did I cover everything from the meeting?
Yeah, I'll kind of jump in on a couple things. So when it comes to the Heritage Hills thing, I just wanted to make note that we did talk about xeriscaping, because that was definitely something that came up through CPC about how do these people actually look after their lawn or their lots. And so it hasn't been decided quite yet, along with lighting, but some of those decisions will be made as they go forward in their application. So just so you know that I haven't lost some of those things. The other thing that was brought up was about snow plowing in that area with Heritage Hills, just about how to clear the lane when obviously you have a plow that kind of swipes sideways. How do we be able to accommodate people who are parking there as well as people's driveways? So that was brought up as well. So I think that as far as this council goes, we are on some of the things that we already know are going to be challenges for those residents, and we're trying to stop them before they become challenges. So whatever council of the day that gets elected, hopefully they continue on that path to make sure that we're looking at those things. I'm trying to think of what else that was discussed at that meeting. Other than, yeah, we had recreation stuff. I feel like I'm missing something though. There's something still missing out of that conversation. Maybe it'll come to me. I was just
Riley's got
finishing.
it for us.
Pardon me?
Riley's catching us.
Mr. Weldon?
The discussion about the efforts from the town on truth and reconciliation.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, so we had a lot of talk about truth and reconciliation, but I think the bigger conversation that will still be had within this town is not just about truth and reconciliation, but inclusivity for all. And I think that we're going to see some great things come forward out of the next council, as well as an advisory board to be able to address some of these issues for our marginalized groups here in town, who feel that they haven't been heard. And that's something important. I think that rings true through all of our council, even despite our votes or how we voted, perhaps. It is something that I think we all hear about, the importance of making sure that everybody is heard, everybody has an opinion. And yeah, I think there is something still, I'm forgetting something, but it will probably come to me within the presentation that I'll bring up.
I think it's the week of the girl or the month of the girl. We did have a proclamation as well, but anyhow. So Marnie, I had highlighted up.
It's about some of the budgets when it comes to Highway 1A and the 22 construction, as well as municipal enforcement. Or no, not Highway 1A 22, but the transit hub, as well as the police station. It just, their contingency plans might grow. And so we don't have any sort of verified facts right now, but we have been told that just due to construction costs, projections, we may see an increase of budgets for those projects. It hasn't been verified, but it is on our watch anyways. So I would just like to make that public that we are watching it. We do realize that these projects are obviously very expensive to be able to provide to our community, but at the end of the day, they also have value, but we can't help where costs have taken us. So I think that's about it.
Thank you very much. So a couple comments. I saw a report today that our inflation rate is at 4%. So that would contribute to some of that. And I also wanted to share with you along the way that I was at a ski hill where the cars were covered with snow and a plow did shear off a whole side of a vehicle. So let's not have that happen. So unbelievable. Didn't even see it. Did not even see the vehicle there. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that little bit.
And if anybody, I just finished watching Kenny's presentation. So yeah, if anybody doesn't know what's coming down the pipes, they should probably tune in to, the province's recent announcement. So it's definitely going to affect a lot of our businesses, a lot of our community. and all the way around. So there's going to be, it's also very new that it just came out like within the last half hour, but hopefully everybody pays attention as to what some of those announcements were.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, Councillor McFadden and Councillor McFado. I have COVID mouth today. I just can't really speak. Sometimes I have COVID brain. Today I just seem to be mumbling all day. So, so thank you so much for your report. And the next item is the adoption of the previous minutes. So the minutes for August 18, 2021, they were circulated. Does anybody have any errors or omissions that they noted? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as circulated? Okay, Ms. Moore. And in all in favor, we will need your hands or know whether or not you're in favor. Councillor Fedayko.
I am in favor.
Okay, so it is unanimous. Thank you. The next item is the Development Officer's report for the month of August 2021. Mr. Weldon.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. The Development Officer's report has been included in your agenda. The total amount of permits for the month of August, it was quite a busy month. As you can see, there was a total of 28 permits that were issued by town administration. Comparatively over the last year, this brings the total number to 158 DP applications as of September 9th of this year. This time last year, there was 116 DP applications, and this time in 2019, there were 137 development permit applications. So this is a 36% increase over the last year and a 15% over 2019 numbers. Similarly, on the compliance application side, we had 618 compliance applications to date, which, as we had noticed here in the previous month, we are still seeing a very large number of compliance applications coming in month over month. This time last year, just again comparatively, was 317, and then in 2019 it was 358. So this is a 195% increase over last year, and 172 over 2019 numbers. So still seeing large amounts of compliances. And again, this is reflective of the real estate market that is in Cochrane. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Weldon. I believe that Councillor McFadden has a question or comment.
Ironic, because I was the one who said we should be efficient. I think 2014 was our previous kind of record year. Do you have a comparisons to 2014 in your math, or can I get that from you later?
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor McFadden. I don't have those numbers in front of me. I can get you those numbers very easily though. Yes, yeah. I know on the building permit side, which is separate from the development permit side, but I know that earlier this year, as of July, that we were trending on 2014 numbers, which is, if for those that aren't aware, was a very, very, actually a record-breaking year in terms of our growth and development within the town. So yeah, very healthy growth within the town this summer as well.
Yeah, well, thank you to the staff that have been handling all that. And thanks for the update.
Yeah, and thank you. And I believe that you had, you shared with me a bit earlier that you've got at least a little bit of help now, Mr. Weldon.
Yes, that is correct. Very happy to have Nicole Tomes. She's a senior planner. For those again who have not met Nicole or might not know who she is, Nicole Tomes is senior planner with our team. She has recently come back from a mat leave, so she was back today. So we're very happy to have her back.
Yeah, I think she was gone for about 18 months, was she not?
16 months. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
16
That's
months.
correct. Yeah.
So she probably anticipated COVID and decided to come back today. So good
Great.
for her.
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions or comments directed to Mr. Weldon with respect to his report? Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve the development officer's report? Oh, everybody wants to do it. Okay, Mr. Pathrath, motion and a vote, all in favor. And Marnie, are you in favor? Because I can't see you.
Sorry, Marnie's not available right now. She's just resetting her laptop. So you're stuck with just us.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Weldon. Okay, so the next item is the DP 2021066, which relates to excavation. I told you, marvels. Excavation and stockpiling, stripping and grading in River Heights or on 500 River Heights Drive.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm here tonight for the Rivercrest excavation or River Heights excavation and stockpiling. This application is for 500 River Heights Drive. It is a multifamily site in the Riversong neighborhood. Well, it was under a previous subdivision application for Riversong Phase 7. It has since expired and needs a new approval for its stripping and grading. As shown on the neighborhood plan, it was approved as RM, so that is our high density multifamily. And this was approved back in 2011. Since then, most of the rest of the neighborhood has been developed, and they're now looking to proceed with this parcel. So the existing site does have some steep slopes. It generally slopes from the west to the east side and toward the north corner there, away from River Heights Drive. So the goal of this application is to level out the site to better prepare for the development. So they will be removing some of they will be cutting down some of that slope as well as filling up other portions of the site to create a more gentle slope. So approximately a 3-to-1 slope will be achieved in its most extreme locations. While most of the material will be reused on site, approximately 3,000 cubic meters will need to be trucked in for additional fill. These are just 3 cross sections just to show kind of the changes that you'll see across the site. So cross section A is the proposed road that would lead into the site as a cul-de-sac. And you can see that the rough grade will be a much more gentle slope, as well as cross section B, which is from the westmost point across the site. Again, you can see that they're going to be taking down that bit of the grade there down towards that proposed road and then continue the slope down, as well as cross section C, which it shows what it'll be closer to River Heights Drive. As mentioned, there will be some additional fill that needs to be brought into the site. We currently don't have a road use agreement with the applicant. That will be a condition of the approval. However, in preliminary talks, they have identified that they're going to be using some of the clean fill from President's Phase 12 as the builders are excavating basements to use that as the fill necessary for the site. They have also submitted an erosion sediment control plan as shown on the screen here. They will, again, try and best control any runoff from the site as it is still heavily sloped towards that ER parcel. So I have provided a couple site photos for reference. So this is from the east corner looking towards some of that existing development further west on River Heights Drive. And you can kind of get an idea of the existing slope of the site near the front. And I've also provided a photo from that far west corner there. So again, you can see that there is a bit of work that needs to be done to bring everything up to a rough grade for further development. So the rationale for this approval is that it is going to meet all the land use bylaw regulations. It is aligning with the town's planning policy, specifically the neighborhood plan for the site. As with all stripping and grading permits, we will require $150,000 security. In addition, a road use agreement will be required for the hauling of material. And there are additional conditions and advisory notes in the report based on feedback from our circulation. So it is administration's recommendation that the Cochrane Planning Commission approve development permit 2021-066 for the excavation and stockpiling subject to the conditions listed in the report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nordquist. Does anyone have any questions or looking for clarification from Mr. Nordquist? Mr. Pathrath?
I'm trying to get, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I do have a question. I'm not concerned about the excavation and stockpiling, but I do have a question. I'm a little confused of what's actually going on the site. It looks like it is a multi-family or high density unit or area for high density, but it looks like the applicant is putting single family homes in it. Is this correct?
Through the chair, no, that is incorrect. At this time, they are only looking at the stripping and grading of the parcel. So the only part that would really affect the future development of this site would be the road that they are showing. There has been discussions about the use of this parcel. However, there is no final design for what form of residential will be placed on it.
Okay, because the Macintosh letter states that the previous study that was done in 2014 was for a multifamily site, and that this particular subsequent report of August of this year has to do with single family. So I'm confused of what they're actually going forward with. And should we be concerned about any of the excavation if it's different between a multifamily and a single family site?
So through the chair, ultimately this parcel is still zoned RM, and they will need to comply with our land use bylaw in that regards. However, in looking at the stripping and grading of this parcel, they are only bringing it to a rough grade. So if they do, there will be additional work as part of whatever application they bring forward to make sure that if they're proposing apartments, townhomes, or some kind of cluster of single detached dwellings, that it will ultimately meet the drainage needs of this area, as well as the geotechnical requirements for stable slopes based on the geotechnical report.
All right, so we're only seeing the beginning of this development, and the full-blown picture hasn't yet been presented to a planning or to a CPC.
Correct. This application is more or less to move soil and get everything in order for a future proposal.
Thank you.
So just a point of clarification, Mr. Nordquist. So there is a neighborhood plan in place for this area? I believe there is.
Yes, this is part of River Song Phase 2, or Stage 2, sorry.
So once they actually decide what kinds of buildings they're going to put on it, then they'll get down to the detail at that point.
Correct. We'll get a more detailed development permit application once they have an idea of what's actually going on the parcel.
Okay. I have a question. So since some time has elapsed, the geotechnical evaluation was done in January 2014. I don't know what is typical. At what point is a updated report required? So it's now, what, 7 years? So I'm just wondering at what point we would go back to them and say, well, we need an updated report because of the elapsed time.
And that is an addendum on the front of the report there. The engineer provided an update letter just this summer, just reviewing the original report and making sure that it is still current with the site conditions.
Okay, thank you. Now I had a question. In the engineering report, there is a number of recommendations. I wrote down page 15, but of course I can't find that now that I want that. So they make recommendations. So is the developer bound to be in alignment with those recognition or those directions or recommendations from the engineering firm?
Through the chair, just give me one moment to find that page to reference.
That would be great if I could find it myself. So, and I was just using it as an example, but it did make some recommendation, and I was just curious. So when an engineering firm is contracted to make recommendations, is the developer bound by those recommendations? Let me find it.
So maybe I'll just answer this question in general first. Yes, they've provided this geotechnical report to us and we've accepted it. It has been reviewed by both our civil land development department as well as a third-party consultant. And it is, I believe, one of the conditions of our stripping and grading that they comply with the report provided.
Okay, thank you. I did find it now. And on page 15, it just refers to a couple things, such as in addition to the recommendations above, a restricted covenant for the proposed lots that back onto the slope crest should be implemented and should include the following. And then there's 2 bullet points. One is channelized flows over the top of the slope should be avoided. And 2, that there should be no surcharge loading at the top of the slope, such as retaining walls, fills in excess of 0.5 meters or other permanent structures other than stated in this report without a full slope global stability review by a qualified geotechnical engineer. So again, I was just curious about process. This was written a number of years ago and just wondering if the developer needs to abide by those.
Yes, and these restrictions would probably play more into their final design rather than in the stripping and grading permit.
Thank you. Just looking for clarification. Does anyone else have any questions or comments with respect to this development permit?
I have one question, probably not in respect necessarily to this, but kind of what Mr. Pathrath was going after about, will we see this again in front of the Cochrane Planning Commission? I mean, obviously, Councillor Methven and I are stepping off at this point with an election run. But will this come forward to the Cochrane Planning Commission in the following months or anything, especially when it comes to the development side? I guess I have concerns that, you know what, we step off, who knows who is in our seats in the next go around, but just making sure that we are covering our bases is basically what I'm trying to ensure for our group right now.
Yeah, so through the chair, the next, it would depend what their proposal is. If they come forward with rezoning the parcel, it will come through Cochrane Planning Commission for comments. Or if they're proposing a discretionary use or any variances, that would also come, that permit would then come through the Planning Commission. However, if they do abide by the RM zoning and propose a permitted use, it would be administration's responsibility to review it. And if they felt, if needed, it may, or again, in the case of a variance, it would then come to the Cochrane Planning Commission.
Thank you for that. I guess I would just suggest for the remaining members besides Councillor McFadden, if you have any flags at all right now, to make sure that they are raised so that they can at least carry forward into that next session. Just make sure that your comments are recorded, they're noted, and whether or not they have any merit or not going forward will be one thing, but at least they are on record. So I would just suggest that everybody speak up right now who is not a council member in leaving terms.
Okay, so Councillor Fideco's kind of left the door open, just wanting to make sure that we are being heard and we have an opportunity. So does anyone have anything to add with respect to this? Mr. Pathrath?
I just have a follow-up question about the timing of the hauling. We approved hauling of quite a bit of earth up at River Crest a few months ago, I believe, and they were going to haul a whole bunch of trucks. Now this is being asked to also move some topsoil off of it. Would you know if the River Crest hauling is completed and this will phase in after, or are we going to have a multiple of trucks going down that street?
So through the chair, I'm not aware of the current status of the River Crest stripping and grading. I'm not sure if Riley would have a development or an update, but in regards to this application, it will be a bit more sporadic, as well as a lower volume of fill being brought onto the site. As kind of mentioned, most of the clean fill is going to be brought from as development occurs in precedence. So they will be using excess fill from those lots as it's available and trucked to the site.
Great, thank you.
So just for a point of clarification, Mr. Nordquist, do you have a sense of timing as to when we're going to see those roads, those trucks hit the road, so to speak?
It would commence very shortly later this year, though I'm not sure it would be completed in time for winter. So it may be, they might start some of the hauling this fall, but the remainder would be left for the spring.
Okay, thank you. Are there further questions, comments?
I just wanted to say I work up by River Crest on a fairly regular basis, and I haven't had a negative experience with any of the hauling. So I don't know if that makes anybody feel any better, but I'm up there a couple times a week and it hasn't hit my radar as a problem at all. So that's just my subjective experience.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McFadden. One more time, any questions or comments? If not, may we have a motion presented?
Motion to approve option 1.
Okay, Ms. Moore, any further discussion, comments? If not, can we go to vote? All in favor? And opposed, it's carried unanimously. So the next item, now that I've lost my agenda, the next item is DP 2021-127 for lots 5 to 8, block 17, plan 171-1892 in Heritage Rise.
Hello. So yes, this application is for some street-oriented townhomes along Heritage Rise. This application is quite similar to the one that was brought forward last month. It is quite similar. It is for those garden townhomes, and instead of a 3-unit on the corner, this is going to be a 4-unit interior street-oriented townhome. As shown on this map here, these are for the 4 lots directly north of the previous approved townhome. It has the same R2 zoning in which street-oriented townhomes are discretionary use. And these parcels are part of the Heritage Hills Stage 2 neighborhood plan. So in our planning evaluation, we found that this application does meet our municipal development plan as well as our Cochrane sustainability plan, as is offering a diversity of housing as well as contributing to the vibrancy of the neighborhood. Within the Heritage Hills Stage 2 neighborhood plan, these are more of those garden townhome lots. So again, they will be facing the park primarily, and then they'll have their rear driveways facing Heritage Rise. So in review of the LUB regulations, it was found that the proposed townhomes meet all of our regulations in terms of setbacks, as well as building height, lot coverage, parking, and landscaping. So as shown on the site plan here, so it is going to be 4 units. They are going to have direct access from Heritage Rise with 1 parking stall in the driveway and a single car garage. And then they'll have either a deck in form of a patio or veranda with a walk connecting them to the park, as well as a trail located within the park boundary. And here's the building elevations just to show the proposed design. Again, from the street side, it looks like a fairly typical front drive product. And then on the rear, the additional emphasis has been placed on having those larger windows, the decks of verandas there, so that there's more interaction with both the rear yard and the park space. So administration is recommending that the Cochrane Planning Commission approve development permit 2021-127 for the street-oriented townhome, subject to the conditions listed in the report. And I'm available for any questions.
And thank you, Mr. Nordquist. Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, there doesn't appear to be anything in the chat. And so, as this is very similar, I'm sure that we've kind of had our questions vetted at last month's development permit. So if we don't have any questions or comments, may I suggest that we have a motion put on the floor?
Move that we accept option number 1.
Okay, Mr. Parsons. And as far as comments, I'm just wondering if there is a typing error with respect to option 1, in that it says that the Cochrane Planning Commission approved development permit 2021-127 for an office, is what it says. And so
Yes, that is a typo in the report.
So I'm just I have a procedural question then. Do we need to have a motion to change the wording before we can approve the option? Or can we just make the change? Mr. Weldon, can you weigh in there?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think because option 1 is specific and you have not read out the actual recommendation for the townhomes, I do recommend that you make the change from office to the street-oriented townhomes to recognize the use, and then pass that motion as amended, and then vote on that.
Okay, so the motion will read, just let me get back to it, that the Cochrane Planning Commission approved development permit 2002-127 for, now I've lost it, street-oriented townhomes, as amended at lots 5 to 8, block 17, plan 171, 1982, 16, 20, 24, and 28 Heritage Rise, subject to the following conditions. Okay. Any other questions, comments, input at all? If there is none, can we take it to a vote? So all in favor? And opposed? It is carried unanimously. So that brings our items to a close today. The next meeting is, I believe, it is Wednesday, October 20th at 6:30. And can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Everybody, Mr. Pathrath. Okay. Thank you. All in favor? And thank you. Okay, we'll see you again on October 20th. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you,
Great.
everybody, for your commitment.
Pardon me?
Thank you, everybody, for your commitment. Honestly, it's we don't know where the next month is going to end us, but I just want to say thank you. I've been on the CPC for 4 years. It's been a 4-year journey, and there's been a ton of stuff that I've learned. And thank you to our planning department, especially to all of you for your education, your knowledge, to Jaylene and to Deb, because I believe you've been there the whole entire way. So thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm just ending up with 6 years, but yes, with lots of admiration. The planning and development department has been on steroids ever since this council came in. So maybe you'll get to breathe for a minute before the next council starts. So
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you for your 4 years. And Councillor McFadden, I do have marbles. You've been on council or CPC multiple times and for a long time, so.
Yeah, I think I've actually served on the planning commission longer than I've served on council, which is a strange record. But yeah, no, thank you to everybody. It's always an honor to work with community volunteers to step up and to be a part of the process. So I really appreciate that, and to our planning team and our staff. I kind of, the image when you said, it's like you've been on steroids, I think they've actually been the opposite of steroids. I feel they've been a little bit underfed and overworked. So, but I certainly appreciate the amazing work they've done for us and everyone involved. So yeah, thank you everyone. And then just make sure there's a lot of opportunities in the next 6 weeks to practice your democratic duties. So make sure you get out and vote in every opportunity.
Yeah, so there's a curse, and I'll close. I won't say what the origins are, but may we live in unprecedented times.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
There we
So
go.
thank you all for your commitment.